welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. In our top story, more than a dozen areas on St. Croix experienced varying degrees of power outages over the weekend. And according to WAPA, a lot of it were from circumstances beyond their control. The heavy rain certainly played a part. And for the past few days, the authority has been catching up with repairs. News 2's April Knight has more.
It's a perfect storm, so to speak, that caused a string of power outages on St. Croix since the weekend. From heavy rains to a vehicular accident, a series of unfortunate events had WAPA's hands full just to get power back to residents.
The torrential rainfall did cause some tree limbs to drop, to impact the lines. It caused a number of fuses and circuits to open. We've had also impacts on the system. We had a motor vehicle accident on Sunday morning that took down one pole and all the associated hardware. We also had some instances where some neutral lines and some primary lines came down in various neighborhoods.
According to WAPA, at no time did they lose a majority of the feeders on St. Croix, nor was the Estate Richmond substation compromised. At the peak of the interruptions, up to 18 areas were affected, the longest outages lasting up to 14 hours.
We chipped away at those one by one until we got them all done yesterday.
The saturated soil also made it harder for the repair crews to get to the affected areas.
That made it difficult in some of these isolated areas for us to move our heavy equipment through, the bucket trucks, the pole diggers. It became a bit difficult for that heavy equipment to be moved through the saturated soils. That further delayed some of the restoration.
On Tuesday night, a portion of underground circuitry was compromised, causing power interruptions in Christiansted.
Pumped out the manhole yesterday, determined that the transformer was not impacted by the water, but was simply failed.
As of Wednesday afternoon, all the areas affected Saturday were back up, according to WAPA. Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
And according to WAPA's spokesperson, John Griot, power should have been fully restored to all areas, including those affected by the Tuesday outage by 5 p.m. Wednesday. Well, approximately 1,500 innovative modems hung up yesterday, and according to the company, it's because of a technical problem at the hub serving Charlotte-Amalie. This has affected customers who have been converted to its hybrid fiber coaxial or HFC network. Innovative customers would be experiencing no dial tone on their landlines and the loss of internet service. Customers are advised to unplug the AC power to the modem and remove the battery. Wait approximately 15 seconds, then plug the modem AC power back in and reinsert the battery. If this does not work, you are urged to contact the Innovative Repair Department by dialing 912. Well, Senator Novel Francis is seeking answers to the issues plaguing the territory's 911 system. As the chair of the Senate's Committee on Homeland Security, Public Safety and Justice, Francis has oversight of the Virgin Islands Territorial Emergency Management Agency, or VITEMA, which manages the 911 emergency response system. In recent weeks, the St. Croix 911 system was down for approximately 12 hours, forcing distress calls to be routed to St. Thomas. Reports also indicate that audio recordings of 911 calls, which are crucial to law enforcement investigations, have not been available for several months. He plans to discuss VITEMA's challenges with Director Mona Barnes and has considered the impact of budgetary cuts. He said these issues are a clear sign that the system needs additional financial support. Turn our attention to the courts. On Tuesday, May 3rd, 2016, Angel de Jesus Marrero, 31, of Puerto Rico, pleaded guilty in district court on St. Thomas to encouraging and inducing aliens to illegally enter the United States. According to the plea agreement filed with the court on December 22, 2015, Marrero was solicited by his co-defendant, Rodriguez Ramirez, to assist in the passage of 5 illegal Brazilian nationals through the St. Thomas airport by checking them in at the airline ticket kiosk. Afterward, he was to ensure that the illegal aliens made it to the appropriate gate to depart St. Thomas for New York. Federal agents, however, thwarted the plan before anyone boarded the aircraft and apprehended the defendants along with the illegal aliens. Marrero's sentencing date has been set for September 1st, 2016. Rodriguez Ramirez previously pleaded guilty to bribing a customs officer and is awaiting sentencing on June 16th, 2016. Marrero faces a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison and $250,000 fine. Bill number 31-0005, proposed by Senator Jeanette Millen-Young, which was vetted during the last committee meeting on April 8, 2016. This bill seeks to create a comprehensive crime and public health task force. It received testimony on the status of the medical assistance program. That also took place today. Bill number 31-0294. These are all discussed at the Senate. An act amending Title 27 Virgin Islands Code by requiring health care providers who are employed by the government of the Virgin Islands and are engaged in private practice and receive financial assistance toward the payment of medical malpractice insurance premiums to accept Medicare and Medicaid, proposed by Senator Narida Rivera O'Reilly. They also received testimony on the status of the Virgin Islands Medical Malpractice Trust Fund. Senator Marvin Blyden, chairman of the Committee on Housing, Public Works, and Waste Management, has canceled the meeting scheduled for Friday, May 6th. He said due to scheduling conflicts of the additional testifiers needed for the legislation proposed, the meeting has been rescheduled to Tuesday, June 7th at 10 a.m. in the Earl B. Otley Legislative Hall on St. Thomas. Meanwhile, Blyden thanks colleagues after his bill 31-0071 was approved in legislative session on March 29, 2016, and signed by Governor Mapp on April 22nd as Act number 7858. That act amends Title 33 Virgin Islands Code relating to penalties for improperly conducting real property tax auctions. The act introduces language to protect property owners from any person who knowingly and willfully participates in the manipulation of an auction, to restrict other potential bidders from making legitimate bids on any property offered. Any person who engages in any false or fraudulent statement, illegitimate bid, or false representation on obtaining any real or property tax should be imprisoned not exceeding more than 3 years and fined no more than $20,000 or both. Governor Kenneth Mapp lashed out at police and teachers union in a press conference on Tuesday, as we reported, getting heated reactions on social media. The governor also laid out administration's proposal that would drastically change the annual school schedule and a negotiated base pay increase that's tied to that. News 2's April Knight has details.
Governor Kenneth Mapp didn't score any points with the teachers and police unions on Tuesday. They may have gotten raises, but they also got a scolding from the governor.
When you abandon their children or you leave them exposed to violence and unsafe conditions to protest actions that you know are not true, then you are acting irresponsibly.
Many teachers, of course, and their supporters didn't take well to that. On social media, they called the governor a dictator with a temper tantrum and started posting teaching vacancies in other places. It's also unclear whether the unions will agree to a wage increase that's linked to a major shift in the academic year. The administration is offering an increase in base pay for the teachers, but that's tied to a proposed change in the school calendar. The governor is looking at a 3-semester school year.
3 semesters as opposed to 2 semesters. We would be offering teachers, as opposed to all summers off, they would get 3 2-week cycles of vacation, and we would be able to extend the school year.
Governor Mapp also said that the increase in pay that they're proposing is higher than what they would have had to pay the teachers just for the additional semester.
We are going to be making an offer to increase the base pay of teachers by $5,000. At the current rate the teachers were paid, it would be approximately $2,600 per teacher.
Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
The unions have not yet responded to the governor's Tuesday statements. They are currently on ongoing negotiations for new contracts. We will keep you updated on the outcome. It is National Teachers Appreciation Week. We will have more on that later on in the newscast. Meanwhile, Governor Mapp also announced that he is leading a delegation of VI officials to China at the end of the month. They will be meeting with Sinopec, the global giant that has partnered with Lime Tree Bay operations on St. Croix to discuss additional investment opportunities. Key government officials, including representatives from the Economic Development Authority and the Tourism Department, will be part of that delegation. Here's more.
The plan here is to visit a number of their additional storage, terminal, and refining facilities to discuss additional and limited refining at the St. Croix site, to discuss areas where we plan to break down areas of the current refinery and begin in that area to stage the transshipments of goods coming from China to the west and goods from the west to China. That trade mission will include meetings with Air China to discuss weekly or bi-weekly visits to the island of St. Croix to bring Chinese tourists, similar to what we're doing with the Danish tourists on Norwegian airlines.
Well, keeping our attention overseas, about 700 models, editors, and celebrities, including Gisele Bundchen, Tilda Swinton, Vin Diesel, and more. They were transported to the Caribbean via cruise ship from Miami. Those are courtesy of AP, the Associated Press. And with the boats docking where VIPs were greeted by classic cars, the Paris-based brand symbolically broke a significant cultural barrier between the communist country and the surrounding fashion world. While fashion brands have been inspired by Cuba for decades, the new line, which was inspired by Cuba's cultural richness, features bright prints, traditional guayaberas, beach-themed slogans on T-shirts, lightweight black and white suits, Tropicana-inspired bouclés, separates, ruffled skirts, fedoras, and berets. Some Cubans were critical, though, with many noting that Chanel isn't even sold on the island, and a majority of the population could never even dream of wearing one of the designs. Approximately 70% of Cuban workers are employed by the state and have an average salary of $25 per month. Meanwhile, keeping our eye on the economy, let's take a look at the stock market watch at the New York Stock Exchange. According to the numbers there, we can see the Dow, Nasdaq, S&P all down. The Dow down 99, Nasdaq 37, S&P 500 down 12. Coming up on News 2, frozen nugget fans, beware, there's been a recall on 220,000 pounds of the popular food. Details coming up. Welcome back. St. John's Administrator Camille Paris Jr. announced that on May 16th, the Abandoned Vehicle Task Force will commence the tagging of abandoned vehicles throughout the island of St. John. After the initial tagging process, the vehicle's owners will be given sufficient time to remove the vehicle, or the vehicle will be removed at owner's expense. The goal of this project is to promote public health and safety, he says, and will aid in the overall beautification of the island. Administrator Paris appreciates the public's understanding and cooperation during this process. Well, in spite of controversy surrounding VI teachers, a lot of government leaders are expressing appreciation for them this National Teachers Appreciation Week. Senator Jeanette Millen-Young said the unselfish service of countless educators has led to significant advancements of the Virgin Islands during this last century. Lieutenant Governor Osbert Potter said, meanwhile, the lessons that teachers impart on children extend beyond academics, but also include instilling morals, values, and ethics. He said these help to develop an individual's social responsibility, which in turn builds a better community. According to Senator Kurt Violet, teachers have the ability to bestow children with solid skills that they will need to put their dreams within reach and to inspire them to dream even bigger. Education Commissioner Sharon Ann McCollum also has a message for the teachers under her department.
Teachers are the heartbeat of our community, as teaching is the only profession that directly impacts every other profession. Because of your tireless dedication to our students in the classroom and your many acts of service outside of the classroom, our young people are both learning and thriving. Thank you to our teachers for inspiring the next generation of Virgin Islands leaders, for being that shining light our students can emulate, and for your steadfast commitment to the noble profession of teaching. We celebrate you today and every day.
Congratulations to all the teachers. We'll hear some development on the territory's fight for citizenship rights. On Tuesday, plaintiffs from Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Virgin Islands filed a response to the federal government's opposition to a voting rights lawsuit. At the same time, the We the People Project, a nonprofit at the front lines of this fight, is releasing a proposal that would provide full voting rights for residents of U.S. territories. According to its president and founder, Neil Ware, the primaries and the general election are an important opportunity to stand up for the right to vote in November. Count on to keep you updated. A Coast Guard MH-60 Jayhawk helicopter crew and a Dominican Republic Navy patrol boat rescued 4 boaters Monday from a 52-foot sailing catamaran that ran aground in the Silver Banks, approximately 80 nautical miles north of the Dominican Republic. Rescued are 2 men and 2 women, reported to be U.S. citizens who were transiting aboard the Now or Never catamaran from Tortola, BVI, to Fort Lauderdale. The distressed boaters reported that the Now or Never was taking on water after running aground in the Silver Banks and that a dewatering pump was keeping up with the water coming inside the vessel. They were safely transported. The Department of Education partnered with Senator Kurt Violet's office in an effort to support the American Cancer Society. If you saw a lot of purple today, here is why. It was an effort to join the Departments of Health and Human Services, the Governor Juan Louis Hospital and Medical Center, and Frederickstead Healthcare in the fight against cancer. Relay for Life, just remember this, St. Croix, that will be held from May 21st through May 22nd at the St. Croix Educational Complex Track and Field. The theme is Paint Your World Purple. Now, the Committee on Health, Hospital, and Human Services, they're inviting students and employees to paint their schools and agencies purple, and that was today. And they contributed $1 per person. Well, frozen nugget fans, beware. There's been a recall on 220,000 pounds of the popular food after reports of bits of black rubber and blue plastic being found inside individual pieces. Foster Farms is recalling 5- and 10-pound bags of its fully cooked product. No illnesses have been reported yet, but the USDA is still classifying the health risk as high. The recalled bags were produced between February 22nd and March 8th, 2016, and have been distributed to Alaska, Arizona, California, Utah, and Washington. They were sent to Costco and wholesale stores in those states. If you think you may have purchased recalled nuggets from Foster Farms, this is a number to call, 1-800-338-8051 for more information. Well, as we reported on Tuesday, the Virgin Islands Department of Health reported 5 new cases of Zika, 2 among pregnant women. There are now a total of 21 confirmed Zika cases in the USVI, with the first case being confirmed in St. John, 15 cases remaining in St. Croix, and 5 on St. Thomas. CNN reports a 70-year-old Puerto Rican man died from complications of the Zika virus in February. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the Puerto Rico Department of Health announced this just Friday. This is the first time in the United States or territories that Zika infection contributed to a death, the CDC said. The elderly man who lived in the San Juan metro area contracted Zika and was treated for symptoms that lasted less than a week. And an epidemiologist at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Dengue branch in San Juan said this. A few days after his recovery, he returned to the hospital with signs of a bleeding disorder. As an elderly man, this individual did have some underlying health conditions, but they were not life-threatening and not likely to have led to his death. This is the 9th known case of bleeding associated with the Zika virus. Well, here's an update. Commissioner nominee Michelle S. Davis suspended all services at the Charles Howard Memorial Medical Facility in Christiansted around midday on Tuesday, but here is an update. All services have been resumed. VI Department of Health will be doing an upgrade to automatic transfer switch system to maintain power stability in the future. They say the goal is to proactively have this system in place before the start of hurricane season, and that message came from Deputy Commissioner Juan Figueroa Seville. He's over the facilities management and support services. Crews were working to rectify an electrical issue at the Charles Howard. Therefore, there was no power to the facility during a portion of the day on Tuesday. Be sure to stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.